Swash, swoosh, splash. The waves smashed against the sides of the kayak as we helplessly paddled against Mother Nature herself. The ocean's current was relentless, alongside the burning sun beaming down on our faces. We were barely closing distance to the island. It was like an illusion, a mirage, as seconds turned into minutes and minutes into hours. We still had to cover a vast distance to our destination. But with our determination and motivation, nothing can stop us, as if the ocean was in our own hands. Though we were at great risk of falling into hypothermic waters, alongside the fear of a too curious seal might try to scratch our inflatable kayak with razor knife-like nails. Luckily, we avoided all the seals, as they were tanning up on a large rock in the hot sun. We could only keep moving forward. As we started closing in on the island, a storm of a gust of wind thrashed the ocean's surface, ripping the water into a strong oceanic current. We fought against the current like our lives depended on it. And as the water splashed up into the kayak, filling it with frigid water, just as we lost all of our strength and with our last strand of hope, and for a moment the raging waves stopped. Now was our chance. We used our final push of strength and paddled through the water like we were beating a massive ocean-sized bowl of eggs. The kayak cut through the water like it was like slicing through butter with a hot knife. And as the island soon became bigger than we could picture with our own eyes, the kayak crashed up onto the shore of the beach. We collapsed onto the sand, finally escaping those hellish waters. And looking back at the churning sea, I realized that while determination gets you so far, you must always stay aware of your surroundings, as Mother Nature does not take lightly on your requests. Now as for getting back, we really wish there was an Uber for boats, because there is no way we're gonna paddle that inflatable egg beater back through that mess. That's it. We didn't have to go back to the same boat.
Clock winding down, ball in my hands. Heart pounding, I shoot. The buzzer sounds. I don't hear anything for a moment. Sweat dripping down my eyes. This moment in the basketball district finals, I would never forget. Our team's journey to get to this spot wasn't perfect. People only see the results, the wins, the losses. They don't see the hustles of practice, the running, the shooting, the mistakes that we made in practice, and the extra shots. And by the time playoffs started, we were ready. All three of the playoff games were held in Hillcrest. Game 1, semifinals against Hillcrest at Hillcrest. We get it. We see people on the bleachers while warming up. The bleachers are packed, and most of them are cheering for Hillcrest. Even the refs. The referee blows the whistle, game starts. Every possession feels important. Every dribble, every shot feels like there's money on the line. By halftime, we're up by a comfortable amount. I drive, I get hit by contact, but no foul is called. So I end up sprinting extra hard on defense. Our coach is mad. A few plays later, my same teammate, it happens again. Now, our coach calls timeout and complains to the ref about why the referees are a bit unfair. And I would understand, because your own school, your own refs, you kind of want your school to win. But after the timeout ends, we go back out there, and the second half starts, we turn the ball over, they hit a layup, and the bleacher explodes with cheer. It feels like we're down by 30, even though we're winning. Most people in the gym, including the referees, are cheering for Hillcrest. So every time they score, the cheering is loud. But with 3 minutes to go, they'd catch up to a one possession game. So we're genuinely worried. But thankfully, one of my teammates make a three and seals the game. The next day, round 2 against Pitt River. It looks like a normal team until we start warming up. We see one guy, a pretty tall guy, and during warm-ups, he dunks the basketball. And he moves the rim so hard that the Hillcrest principal had to bring one of those metal, long rods out to adjust the rim back. Anyways, the game starts. We actually take an 8-0 lead and start feeling like we're gonna actually win. Until the second half starts, and that tall guy comes in and scores 10 points in a 2-minute shift. And we lose the lead completely. Coach calls timeout. He gets a little pep talk in, and we go back out there. And we have this one guy who's very good, and he kind of becomes a leader and pulls everybody together and leads the team. By halftime, it's 32-30. We're up 2, but all the energy is on their side. They just hit an and 1 before the halftime. However, in a close 5-minute game, we seal it by 5 points and take the win, and move on to the finals. Tomorrow, in the finals, we head into the gym, Hillcrest. It is so full, I watch the girls' finals outside from the gym, and it's our school. Monty. Our school team, girls team, are down 10 with 8 minutes left. And they were almost, we thought they were going to lose, but they come back and a girl drives, hits a layup, and ties the game. With 1 second left, they make a play and they win the championship. With this energy, our school goes in and we start warming up. But then we see the opponent. It's the same opponent we versed last year and we lost to. Game starts, I get on the court, my heart is pounding, my hands are shaking. I dribble the basketball, I lose it right away. I am so nervous. Every time I make a mistake, they make a shot, the crowd is so loud. Fast forward to the last seconds of the game. Ball in my hands. 3, 2, 1. The ball leaves my hands. The buzzer sounds. The crowd goes silent for a moment. And the crowd explodes in cheer. Eagle Mountain has won. We lost by almost 30 points. They were an infinitely a better team than us. But we still put up a fight. Even though we lost, we learned a lot of things along the way. Teamwork, discipline, and most importantly, we had fun. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to this.
Imagine this, on top of a mountain, wearing snow gear. Your shoes have 2 sticks attached to them. And then you go down, speeding through the snow. Your heart beating faster than ever. Some tracks bumpy, some smooth. Some starting from the highest tip of a mountain. Some shorter than your 100-meter heats at school. Please hop on. Good evening, everyone. Please hop on a chairlift and get ready while I tell you about the benefits of downhill skiing and why you should try it. There are many benefits of downhill skiing, but these are the 3 I have shortlisted for you all today. Number 1, it varies in levels. Number 2, it is a lot of exercise. And number 3, it is not that hard to learn. Get comfy and be ready for the first part of this exciting chairlift ride. Some may argue there are many levels in sports like lacrosse, tennis, etc., where there's house, performance, and provincial leagues. But those are nothing compared to skiing. You see, skiing has many levels. If you join a skiing team, there is still house, performance, and provincial leagues. But when it comes to skiing in general, tracks are color coded. The easiest ones being green circles, the hardest ones being triple black diamonds. They also vary, there's like a blue one, but some blue ones are way harder than the other blue ones. So, skiing has many levels, as I just indicated. And also, the difficulty in levels, it's not that hard to go into level. For example, I'm playing soccer. It's really hard for me to get to Div 2, because there's somebody already better than me. But if somebody's better than me, and they're ready for the next level, and so am I, both of us can go. But there's no real competition when it goes to going up levels. You can just go up without worrying about who else is going up. It's irrespective of someone else's performance. I hope you all are getting ready for the second part of this chairlift ride, as I dive into how skiing is a lot of exercise. You burn so many calories from skiing. I play soccer myself, and I burn around 600 calories before I am extremely tired. I can't play, and soccer and many other sports have time limits. For example, in a soccer game, there's no way anyone can play more than 90 minutes unless there's overtime. And in skiing, you can ski for hours, and there's like no time restriction at all. Skiing is also a full body workout. While soccer, you just use your legs. Badminton and volleyball, you just use a racket or your hands to save the ball. There's no whole body exercise. In skiing, you use your legs to control the skis. You use your body to balance. And you use your hands to use the poles to get faster. Meaning that you use every single part of your body. So now you may understand why skiing is a better exercise than soccer, volleyball, and badminton, and many others. Now I'll be talking about the third part of this chairlift ride. Why skiing is very easy to learn. Some of you feel like, no it's not, but actually, with dedication, you can do skiing really easily. I myself learned skiing in about 4 days. I was able to do blue tracks. I went skiing for the first time. I had literally no idea what to do. I just went on, rented some skis, and an instructor taught me. The first day, I could hardly even ski down a very small hill. By the fourth day, I was cruising through blue tracks and being like, this is really easy. Well, in gymnastics, it takes years to do a double twist or whatever it's called. And you have to put a lot of dedication because you're probably practicing for like 4 days a week or something like that. It's completely different. Skiing is extremely easy to learn. So, let's remember the 3 benefits of downhill skiing. It has various amounts of levels, it is a lot of exercise, and it is very easy to learn. From tiny toddlers doing green tracks, to teenagers finishing a 5-hour ski workout, to adults learning skiing for the first time so fast. The benefits of skiing are extremely unique. They can help all ages in complete different aspects of life. So whether you're a toddler, a teenager, or an adult, anyone, and I mean anyone, can try skiing. So turn on your laptop, do some research, and go skiing next winter. Passengers, your chairlift ride is over. Please go out carefully and enjoy skiing.
All of you don't know how to use AI. This includes the students, this includes the teachers. None of you have any idea what you're doing. Now, before you get mad at me for saying that you're dumb, because none of you guys are dumb, you're all bright students, let me clarify on what I'm trying to say. Everyone here seems to think that AI is this magical tool that chugs up this water and spits out your homework all completely done, and it's so neat and organized, and it's so good that teachers can instantly tell. That's a bit of an idealized view, I'd say. So I'm going to teach you guys how to actually use something in a way that none of your friends will know how to do. So first of all, quick thing about AI, it is not what you think. When you see these models like ChatGPT or, oh, Taurus isn't here. What a shame. They are something called a large language model. This is a specific type of AI. So how does this work? Well, it's in the name. It's a language model. It takes your input, which is a few words, and it breaks these up into small chunks called tokens. The model takes these tokens and it converts them into specific numbers. I'm grossly oversimplifying here. The model takes these numbers and it puts them into its little thinking space where it has these things called weights. These weights then change the definition of those numbers. Again, I'm grossly oversimplifying. And at the end, the model takes those newly defined numbers and it smushes them all back into words. And thus, you get your AI output. That is how a language model works. Now, if this sounds complicated, that's because it is, and the AI doesn't know anything. A large language model is a predictor. It takes a word and it predicts what the next best thing is going to be. I saw this study the other day that said an AI had learned how to understand whales. We don't even know what whales are saying. So how does an AI know? An AI doesn't know. An AI is predicting what whales should be saying. And that is what is coming out. So keep this in mind, that when you're talking to an AI, you're not talking to some super intelligent robot. You're talking to a bunch of numbers that are trying to predict what you say. It's like an algorithm. It's like chess. It's like a chess ball. It's not very smart. It seems smart because we're human. And that's okay. So given these models, they can still do some pretty impressive things. Logical reasoning, coding, writing entire science reports. Yes, that is true. But one thing you fail to take into account is the type of model. When you have a bunch of weights, you can tune them any sort of way. Think about two different brands of instruments. You have one that sounds brighter, you have one that sounds warmer. They're still the same instrument, but they sound different. That is what AI models are. Different companies tune their models to different outputs, and that is how you get smarter AI and dumb AI. Some companies are good at it, like OpenAI, or Anthropic, or Google. And some are bad at it, like Meta, I suppose. There's also the argument that some people like to make about open source models and their superiority. This, I will have to establish, is a lie. Open source models do not have any benefit in terms of smartness. Why? Well, because they're all based on models and tuning and weights. In an open source model, for instance, OpenAI has their own. What that simply means is it's not some like intricate thing where you can crack it open and see what the AI is thinking. Like, no, it just means that the numbers they use are open to the public. You can open up and see like the numbers they're using. That doesn't change anything about the model. You can't do anything with that info. All you can do is run it. And one thing is, the smartness of an AI depends on the amount of weights you have. So again, OpenAI has a model called GPT OSS 120B. That's a long string of words, but what it means is it essentially has 120 billion weights. This means you cannot run it on anything short of a server. You can't even run it on a gaming PC. You can't run it on anything that any of you guys own, even some of our rich people here like Franklin. You can't run it. You can only run it on a server. And as for the ones that people say, oh, but you can run it locally, you don't give any of the AI companies your data. They're stupid. They're very, very dumb. And AI companies, they restrict these super smart models to the paid plans. When you're on a free plan, you are the product. You are getting a lobotomized, dumbed down version of their smartest AI. When you see those news articles about how an AI blackmailed its owner into exposing his marital affairs with another person, or else if he ever gets deleted, that actually happened, by the way, that did happen. They're talking about the smart models. What you're getting on the free plan is you're getting a lobotomized version. Now, I'm running out of time here, so I'll get to the point. Another point is that since they're language predictors, they can often predict wrong. They don't know what you're going to say. You ask it, you give it your homework, and you say, do it. Well, how does it know what you want? However, if you take your homework and you ask it to maybe, well, depends on what the homework is, you ask it to expand on it. You ask it specifically what points to list. You ask it to find what the work meant by this. Then the AI gives you a more accurate prediction. I am really running out of time. So basically, what I'd like to leave you guys off with is, when you're talking to AI, stop pretending like it's so smart, because it isn't. The only way you can make it smart is if you are smart. So be smart and keep learning. Thank you.
What can you do with a fan, a cushion, a hand towel, and an audience? Well, the masters of Rokugo say, you can create an entire world. Hello, members of Gobble Club, and welcome to my speech about why you should try performing Rokugo. Now, given that I'll be spending the next 5 or so minutes discussing it, I'll start by explaining to you what the heck it actually is. Basically, it's a play where one person plays every part, changing their voice, body language, and line of sight to become a whole new character. The only props in use are a hand towel and fan, which can be used to mimic anything from sipping a hot bowl of noodles to pulling up a fish. There are no complex sets either. Only a cushion to kneel on and an audience are needed. The rest is up to the performer to show. The lack of fellow actors and complex sets or props needed brings me to my first point on why you should try Rokugo. It's easy to do. Now, it's definitely not easy to do perfectly, that's not what I'm saying, but it is accessible. Most of the items needed are cheap, shows can be set up anywhere, and the only people you need to recruit are the listeners. And that's not all, it's also accessible in another way, through versatility. While most Rokugo stories are laugh-out-loud comedies, there are also bone-chilling horror stories, heartwarming stories of love, and even musical tales. This means that there's a place for every performer, no matter their personal interests or talents. Then again, picking a story that doesn't suit you can be just as much of an adventure. Rokugo is also good for challenging your performance skills and helping you grow as an actor, comedian, or public speaker. One of the most difficult parts might be constantly changing your voice and body to suit different characters, which can train your range as a performer. This is an obvious plus for actors of any kind, but it also helps with speech makers. It's always fun to plug in a few impressions, and if you need to pretend that you actually prepared for your speech, well, it's good to know that you can fake it till you make it. But enough with all my reasons. Even if you have the most watertight argument in the world, things are usually easier said than done. So I'm going to show you I have more than just words on my side. I have words, a fan, and a story. So please, sit back, relax, and listen to my performance of a Rokugo story. Our story begins on a humid day by the seaside, where 3 men are chatting. It's so hot it could dissolve. Better get my fan out. All right, now we just unfold it and— No! Don't you dare open that fan! What? Isn't that what fans are for? Not if you value your money. The salesmen around here these days, let me tell you, they're all scammers. They sell you these flimsy fans that fall apart in a single summer, then charge you an arm and a leg for a new one. Okay, what's that? You said you need a solution? You said you need a solution right now? You said you need a solution, and if you don't get one, you'll die? No? Well, fear not, my friend, because I've got a secret strategy that can make a fan last 2 summers, essentially giving you a brand new fan, and I won't even charge you for it. Wait, really? You charge me for everything! Yesterday, you made me pay for inhaling too much of the cool breeze that came in through the window. Well, I'm being nice today. I'll just emotionally manipulate you to pay me anyway, because that's what friends do. Oh good, you're not going insane from heat stroke. So, you begin by taking a perfectly ordinary fan. Then, you unfold half of it and wave it, like so. Then, when that half wears out, You just use the other half. And that's my secret strategy to make a fan last 2 summers. Humph, that's totally wrong. In fact, unfolding a fan halfway only damages it further. The correct way is to open it fully. Then, you hold it up in front of your face and move your head back and forth really fast. That way, you can make a fan last 10 summers. And that was Shiwai, Story of Cheapskates. Thank you for listening. That was fun. You know, that might be the best part of Rokugo yet. The fact that it's just fun to do. It's fun to challenge yourself. It's fun to see people applaud for you. It's fun to put yourself out there on a stage, no matter how small, and perform. In all honesty, I know very little about Rokugo. This is maybe my 3rd ever performance. I've watched precisely 1 professional live performance and maybe 5 videos all by the same guy, and the rest of my knowledge comes from a 15-volume manga series. I'm nowhere close to an expert. But today, just now, I came up here, made people laugh, and enjoyed myself. So if I can do Rokugo, then so can you. Thank you for listening.
Vacation is often associated with a sense of relaxation. I mean, think about this. You're working at a dead-end job, 10 hours a day, every week, every month. Even when you're sick, you have to call in because who's going to pay for the bills, right? You're living alone. And every day you just barely have enough to buy food, to buy electricity bills for the internet. And then picture yourself on a beach. Bright morning, the wind just tickling your feet. And then you see the sun just lifting itself up, right next to the horizon. Wouldn't that be fun? Well, that's exactly what we did. You see, years ago, me and my parents, for some reason we didn't bring my brother along, but we went to Portugal for a break from our lives. They worked 10 hours a day. I went to school. Kind of balances things out. But our main plan was to be tourists. But that wasn't really the case. I thought that the whole vacation thing would be something I would cherish, something only full of enjoyable memories. I was wrong. The first day we arrived, we were pretty exhausted. We flew for a handful of hours, and we went to our hostel, not a hotel, a hostel, and we just slept. But the second day was more interesting. That's when we actually went outside and did tourist things. We took a train to go to a random city, and then from that city, we took another train to go to another city. A lot of cities there. And we just acted as usual. Walked around, saw some of the landscapes, saw too many churches. There's like, you walk, you turn to your left, you turn to your right, that's already more churches than what we have here. And so my dad's album was just full of churches. And then we took a little break, went to this small restaurant, which I thought we were gonna eat something delectable, something healthy. I mean, I imagined it. But then I got served this huge glob of bread, cheese, ham, smothered in a lake of gravy. And of course I ate it. And then we ended our day off with a walk. Walked up a mountain, some of the things I hate. And we called it a day. We were a bit short on time, but either way, we still made it. We made it to our first train. And for some reason, the train just stood there, 10 minutes straight, not moving. It was already, at that point, 10:30. Our last train to go back to our city was around 11. So we stayed there for 10 minutes. I wasn't frustrated because I didn't know how much of a crunch it was going to be, but my parents were. So I didn't really talk to them for the whole trip. And then all of a sudden the train started moving. Of course, they thought everything was going to be fine. But then once we arrived to the city, which will take another train to go back to our city, it just stopped there, also for 10 minutes. And then started to begin getting stressful. Once the door opened, all of us rushed out, and we just barely made it in time just to see our last train leave. So there we were, stranded in a random city at near midnight with not really any way to go back home. And so we stood there at the train station for a good 30 minutes, trying to figure things out. I, of course, had a meltdown, being stranded in a random city that we didn't know how to speak Portuguese, and most of the locals didn't speak English. So I had a meltdown, thinking of how we can get back. Am I really going to be stuck in a country that I don't speak their language? Am I going to be stuck in a country that I don't really like their food? Am I really going to be stuck in a country with thousands of churches every single day? No. While I was busy doing whatever I was doing, probably punching a trash can or something, let's be realistic, my parents were calm and composed. Like, this wasn't their first time experiencing this. And so they looked online, they saw there was still a bus that drove from this city to the city that we stayed, and they decided to book it. We're saved. Problem is, we didn't know where the bus was. So we spent a good hour and a half walking around the whole city, just trying to figure out where the bus was. And eventually we found it. We walked in, and then everything was fine. We got back home at around 2 a.m., went straight to bed, slept for a couple hours because we had to wake up early for more tourist attractions. But the main point I want to point out from this whole experience is that while I was busy trashing up the train station, my parents were relaxed. And so that just shows that even in the most dire situation, you always have to have a calm mind to process everything. Thank you.
Many people confuse badminton with tennis. It's understandable because it mainly involves two rackets, a net, and the thing that you're hitting goes over the net. However, badminton is significantly way better and much more engaging sport compared to all the other sports. Why? Well, first of all, like most sports, badminton can provide a full body workout, but compared to those other sports, badminton requires less skill. Also, even if your arm hurts right now, one of your arms hurts or something, you could still play it because it only requires one arm, unlike other sports like basketball where you have to use two. And since badminton is so simple, it requires less competition to become pro at it. Compare that to basketball. In basketball, you need to learn all about the court, the rules, and so much more. In badminton, all there is to learn is that there's a birdie and it goes over the net. While people do say that badminton is just a worse version of tennis, I completely disagree. Badminton uses a birdie, which is much more lighter, and uses instead of a tennis ball. And because of this, it's easier to hit, which allows for more fun. In conclusion, badminton is shown to be far more superior if you compare it to other sports, with its simplicity, good workout, and minimal competition. Moreover, badminton should be a required sport that you do in gym or PE, whatever you call it. And on top of that, it should be a main sport like in a worldwide event like the Summer Olympics. Thank you for listening.
Now it's time to hear the very anticipated speech from the one and only Jackson! Please welcome Jackson!
Who is this guy?
To me, camping, it's a very interesting activity because I see a lot of parallels and similarities that camping has with homelessness. Because camping, live outside in the forest in a tent. Homelessness, live outside in the park in a tent. So why do people camp? Well, I think the main reason that people like to camp is because they're too comfortable with their cushy suburban middle class lives and they want a break from that and they want to be, experience living in poverty so they can have a newfound gratefulness for their lives. And of course, homeless people would never camp because they're already camping every single day. So, I've never camped before, but I have lived in cabins. So, we arrived in the cabins and we were expecting nice luxury, but instead what we got was poverty because the walls were paper thin. I don't even know if the walls did anything because somehow I could feel the wind inside. Also, there was no heating, there was no lighting, there was a light switch, so that gave you the deception that you think there's lighting, but there's not. The light switch was just there for decoration. And then the mattresses, they're covered in red, white, blue, stains of every single color on the rainbow. And the bathrooms were no better because these were the types of bathrooms that you walked in and you see, oh, the sink, it's push. But you had to push really hard just for not even water to come out, but like some milky substance that I guess you're supposed to come off as water. So, anyways, a lot of people, they were pretty upset by this, understandably. And they kind of gave up on this experience and they just lived like the worst life. They stayed up all night. They just hang out in the bathroom, just sort of doing nothing. And it was around halfway through this experience that I discovered something interesting. Because here were our cabins on this side of the camp, and here was a large building on the other side of the camp. And this is where the counselors lived. And then I walked inside, and you won't believe what I saw there. Heating, nice solid walls, carpet, showers. I didn't mention we didn't have showers. We did shower for 3 days and 2 nights. So anyways, we went into the counselors and they were living in this absolute luxury. They had nice soft mattresses. They had clean sheets every single day. And we were living in basically a cardboard box. Anyways, it was around the 3rd day that I finally got home. And the first thing that I did was take a hot shower and take a long nap. And from this experience, I was able to gain a newfound gratefulness for my life. But to be honest, that only lasted a couple days before I adjusted. The real lesson that I learned from this is that life is unfair and sometimes you just have to accept it. That's it.
It is time
Back to you, Toastmaster.
for the speech of Franklin Moe. Please welcome Franklin onto the stage. Okay, that's a good. There's so many mysteries in life. Why do socks disappear in the dryer? Why does your phone only fall when the screen is facing down? And most importantly, why did Franklin, Andrew, John, and Jeremy think that they could cook a meal? Well, this is an imaginary story, alright? So don't take this seriously. So it all began on a Saturday afternoon. The kind of afternoon where boredom hits you so hard that even doing homework felt fun. And Franklin had an idea. And that was the very beginning of a disaster. So, he grabbed his phone, right? He went on Instagram, made a group call, and Andrew answered first. And he sounded quite offended that anyone would dare interrupt his commitment to doing absolutely nothing. Brother, why are you calling me? Franklin's like, and he was like, it's Saturday, I'm busy doing nothing. And John joined next, already eating something and somehow chewing louder than a microphone that he could handle. And he's like, what's up? Also, does anyone know why my microwave is making a clicking noise? And then Jeremy joined last, looking very suspicious, like he just woke up from a nap, which he probably does every day, and didn't plan to take. And he's like, if this is about homework, I'm leaving. So then, Franklin grinned, right? And that was when everyone froze. And when Franklin has a plan, it usually involves something very terrible. It's either going to be a minor explosion, or at least a moment where someone within the friend group is going to go up to heaven. And Franklin was like, relax, I have a plan. And us, the boys, right? We exchanged looks of like fear, because Franklin continued, we're going to cook something. And Andrew was like, he blinked slowly, like he was trying to process what he's trying to say. He's going to be like, oh, like food? And I was like, no, Andrew. And then, like a mathematical function. Of course, food. What is he talking about? And just like that, the four of us, we went to my kitchen to cook. And we were definitely not qualified. So, Andrew, John, Jeremy, and I, we went to Franklin's kitchen. Not I, what am I talking about? Yeah, Franklin's kitchen. Yeah, this is very difficult if you want to incorporate like your own name into the speech. And this is going to become a very serious crime scene. So then Franklin grabbed like the eggs, right? And like he knew what he was doing. Andrew grabbed bread because it was the only ingredient he recognized. Jeremy grabbed cheese because he believed cheese could fix anything. And John grabbed, I don't know, chocolate syrup, barbecue sauce, and a half-cut lemon. And Franklin stared at him, and he was like, John, what are you doing? And John was like, I don't know. I'm adding complexity to a function. And Andrew shook his head. John, this isn't calculus. What are you talking about function? This is lunch. But it was too late. The chaos had already begun. So then, they cracked the eggs with like the precision of toddlers, and basically they're just like learning how to make tools. And they toasted bread until it was almost like, well, not quite, maybe possibly on fire. And then they melted cheese in a way that looks like none of them knew how microwaves worked. And then John squeezed a lemon over everything. Not sure why he was squeezing lemons, but I just wrote that down because John is John. And he added apparently chocolate syrup to spice it up a little bit for contrast, and also poured a bit of barbecue sauce on top for a little depth and little exquisiteness. And the food that we made, it looked less like food. It was more like cat vomit, and just cat vomit. And it looked like it came out from a science experiment rather than like 5-star Michelin chef restaurant. And so even like the kitchen lights seemed to like dim in disappointment. So the food was so bad it started dimming. And then here, Franklin, right? He decided that the dish needs to be activated because the dish was kind of like too raw. And he said he needs a very fancy way to put this food in the oven. And then Jeremy asked, okay, well, we're gonna cook food. What temperature would it be? And Jeremy was like, oh, we definitely cook it at a high temperature because food always cooks at high temperature and all bacteria kills in high temperature. And of course, putting something in high temperature that you don't even realize what you're cooking, this was absolutely dangerous. So then they shoved the dish into the oven, set it to broil, and waited. So then 30 seconds later, smoke began leaking out of the oven, and just like, and then John, he sniffed the air, and he said, is that burning chocolate? instead of burning chocolate barbecue lemon. And then Jeremy opened the door and instantly regretted it. Right when he opened the oven, Jeremy just saw something very unexpected. And a cloud of smoke exploded and a dish inside bubbled like a volcano. Absolutely, it was unedible. And then Andrew, on the other hand, was like, it's just a dish, should we taste it? And Franklin was like, nah, let's not taste it. Definitely regret it. We'll just order pizza tonight. So this unexpected story really turned into a huge mess. And that really first brings us to the moral of the story. So in conclusion, the imaginary function taught the boys 3 important lessons. First is that you always do something that does not mean you should. Second, planning is very important, especially if you don't know what to do. And third, you never let any ingredients. Thank you.
I need chocolate partner.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. 1 minute left. It's the last period as well. See, in hockey, because I play hockey, but right now it's off season, so I'm playing ball hockey. There are only 3 periods, and for us it's 15 minutes each. My team is still behind, 2-4. Our coach calls a timeout, and me and my teammates gather around the bench to listen to what the coach has to say. Sweat runs down our necks, right onto our jerseys. We hang on to every single word the coach has to say, and we also hope that we can act it out. Then, after the buzzer sounds and our pep talk is over, we run over to the opponent's side, and my captain squares up to take a face-off. Our captain wins it, and he sends it back to me, one of the defenders. I steady the ball on my stick and slap it right towards the net. Chaos ensues. My teammates drive towards the net. The other team's defense is left in disorder. They don't know where to go, and their goalie is left stranded on their own, 1-on-1 against our captain. Our captain has the ball, and he's rushing straight to the net. He shoots, and it hits the back of the net. Our whole team erupts. We run back to the bench, give the whole team a few fist bumps, and start smiling. A wave of hope crashes through all of us. Then, since there's only 39 seconds left, my line stays on, and my captain squares up again for another face-off. My line carrying the last hopes, the glimmering weight of the game. And our captain wins it yet again. I get it again, and I see my teammate, my left winger, running up, and I pass it right to him. He manages to evade the first 2 defenders that come to his way. And along with him running is our captain and one of our other fellow wingers. The winger shoots. It rings off the crossbar and lands right at our captain's feet. He shoots, the goalie blocks it, and the other team manages to clear it. 20 seconds left. We're behind the red line, the middle, and we're still trying to go forward. I get it yet again, and I'm able to pass it forward, right onto our captain's stick. In front of him are 2 of the other defensemen from the other team. Our captain fakes, dekes, and tries to throw them off. And he does, he succeeds. And it's almost as if a sense of deja vu washes over me, as my captain is 1-on-1 with the goalie again. Time is ticking down. 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds.
Captain shoots. He scores. Yet again. Our team explodes in cheering, laughter, and screaming. Because before that game, we had never really experienced such a close game. Because we had never lost or even tied a game before that. We had always won maybe 5-3. Heck, once we even won 12-2. And as our whole bench ran out onto the arena, the final buzzer sounded and the game ended. We hadn't lost, but we also hadn't won. We had tied it, and we kept our streak of not losing. So if there's one thing to take away from this is that whenever you're down by 2 or you feel like you're losing, you can always come back. Thank you.